Looks like Ira got a couple actually pretty good upgrades this set. Not like a crazy amount. And we can talk about like the difference between Ira cards for my build and then Ira cards for the general build. First card I want to talk about is Cut Through. Cut Through is a 0 for 3 attack that blocks 2, but if you've dealt damage with a dagger this combat chain, it gets +1 and go again. If you are looking for a card against aggro, this is your type of card. They're just not going to be able to afford to block your daggers ever, so this will always come in for a 0 for 4 go again. Seems pretty good, especially if you have less go again sources, right? I don't know that even bigger than that. Once this card, we generally want guaranteed go again on some of our cards because our opponent is more likely to block out our daggers. But I could definitely see this thing play in the even bigger than that build as well. Either way, I think we'll see play in Ira somewhere. Pain in the backside is a 0 for 3 guaranteed go again. Still competes in its slot for things like Hurl, 100 wins. This card is okay. It's a 0 for 4 go again on hit. Red 0 for 3 go again, 0 for 4 on hit. Because you deal the 1 damage. Notably, looks like the only flick effect in the set that doesn't actually destroy the dagger. So you get to keep your Kodachi around. You know, if you go Kodachi for 1 into this for 4, and your opponent doesn't block the full thing, well, you know, this is a 0 for 4 go again. Pretty good. Pretty good. It's fine. Poison Blade is kind of weird. It says, whenever a dagger you own hits a hero this combat chain, they lose a life. So you want to attack with this first, and then attack with your other daggers, which doesn't really make sense with Mask Momentum. It is kind of a 1 for 5, right? They have to, you know, block with a 3 block on their Kodachis to make this not a 1 for 5. It's like okay, but I think this card is definitely not particularly good. I wouldn't be rushing to put this card in my deck, although, I mean, it combos with Pain in the Backside, right? So you can deal the extra damage, and then the damage will make them lose the life. It's like fine. The new legendary like piece seems pretty good in the mid-range or defensive Ira decks. It turns an extra blue in your hand into 3 instances of blocking 2 as a reaction, which can be strong. It also sees like niche use against Dominate, Dawnblade, stuff like that. They printed a 0 for 1 blue in this set, so if you're playing the defensive, looking for a scrap style Ira deck, then you should probably consider this card. I think this card is kind of a mirror breaker in that matchup, as well as it seems good against new, because you can both get like maybe 6 or so 1 attack cards in your graveyard, and then you get to banish them all and deal a bunch of damage. It seems fine, right? Like, all the cards, all the blues in that deck are pretty replacement level, and there's niche uses for all of them. But this one does have some pretty cool usage in new specifically. Shelter for the Storm is a Sync Below reprint, I guess. I don't know why they're doing that, but now there's 9 Sync Belows in CC. The defensive Iras will almost assuredly be playing this card. Also, I think it's actually pretty good against Ira, just because you get to stop the first Kodachi with this and know that you're blocking 3 for the turn. Maybe we lose some equity because everybody's going to be putting this card in their deck, especially at the beginning of the meta. We'll see if decks end up running 9 copies of Sync Below in their deck. There definitely will be decks that do, right? Like Enigma will, for example. But I don't think every deck will, and some decks will definitely want to still be running Sync Below because the filter effect is just too strong, right? So if you're only running 1 copy, I'm not sure Shelter from the Storm is the copy you're running. Dual Threat. If you've attacked with a weapon this turn, the next attack action card you play gets +3. Then if you've attacked with an attack action card this turn, your next weapon attack this turn gets +3. So it's like a 0 for 6 yellow 3 block. This card allows you to do stuff like you go Kodachi 100 wins, and then play this, and then play Kodachi Sensor or something, and then your Kodachi and your Sensor are 4 and 8. This is a really efficient card, but you need to build your Ira deck completely around it if you want to build it, because you need a lot of go again to make this card work, and this card doesn't pitch particularly well. But there's a lot of damage just packed into this card, and it puts your other cards on weird breakpoints. I think this card is really strong. We'll see if it lands in any of the Ira decks. I think a new Ira deck might come out with some of the cards in the set that is looking to abuse some of the new head jabs and use Dual Threat as a value engine to just deal a bunch of damage. Sound the Alarm. This card says it's a 1 for 5 3 block. When this attacks a hero, they reveal their hand. If an attack reaction card is revealed this way, you may search your deck for a defense reaction card, reveal it, then shuffle and put it on top. If you are playing the build that runs like 9D reacts, this card's great. If you go Kadachi Kadachi, sound the alarm, go search for Flick Flack, and your opponent knows if they don't block this out, you're going to arsenal Flick Flack off of Mask of Momentum. This card allows you to guarantee that your Mask of Momentum draw is good. So this card in the defensive style Ira deck actually has a very good on hit, right? Because Mask of Momentum usually in that deck is not particularly good. It's okay, right? 50% of the time you draw a card that is quite impactful. 50% of the time it's like, okay, right? You drew whatever. With Sound the Alarm, you're drawing a 0 for 6, right? You're drawing Flick Flack, and Flick Flack is going to block for 4 and then 2 on your next combo card. So I think this card is pretty strong if you are running Flick Flack so that you can search it up, especially, you know, in the matchups where Flick Flack matters. Like, you played against Aurora, stuff like that. They printed a new legendary chess piece in this set, Bloodsplattered Vest. Whenever a dagger you control hits, you may gain an energy and put a stain counter on this. Then if there are 3 or more stain counters on this, destroy it. Notably, it says whenever, and it's not a once per turn. So if you want 2 energy on one turn, you just can have 2 more energy on a single turn. So this allows you to really put a ton of damage into a single turn. I think just for that case, this card is extremely strong. But also, a lot of times with Tunic, you're not getting to 3 activations ever, right? In certain matchups. In some matchups, you definitely are, right? This card can sometimes give you more energy than Tunic. It also can be used on any turn that you really want to, because almost every turn your Kadachis are hitting. So this can kind of pull you out of some situations that are kind of hairy with as far as your cards go. I think Tunic has some more application in fixing broken hands, right? There's often hands where I look at it, it's all reds, and I have to do things like activate Tunic for Bittering Thorns red. That's a play pattern you can't do with this card, and I think that's pretty strong. So I'm not entirely sure that you'll be playing this, especially in every matchup. But in matchups that are fast, where you kind of just want the energy, then I think this card is really strong. So you should definitely be considering this card at least. Prowess of the Agility is the last card I want to talk about here. This card is weird. It's kind of like an energy pot. It says it's a blue 3-block 0 cost, so it fits our cost curve. And it says when you attack for the first time during a turn, you may destroy this. If you do, draw a card. At the beginning of your end phase, if you've attacked less than 3 times this turn, destroy this. So go first. You draw this card. You go Kadachi Kadachi 100 wins. Then you play Prowess of Agility. And now we're looking at a energy pot on the battlefield, except it's better than an energy pot because we get to actually draw a card. Your mileage may vary whether draw a card is actually good in your Ira deck. In my Ira deck, it's really good. It might not be good in yours. This card is strong, but it doesn't reveal it even bigger than that. You could just replace Warmongers with it, but I'm thinking of just taking out Warmongers anyways for more consistent, even bigger than that reveals. So this probably doesn't end up making the cut, but this card is strong, right? I would for sure be considering this card and testing with it.